Tom, can you give me advice on coming out?
Oh, God, honey, you just did.
Welcome to Gay Talk 2.0, the ultimate podcast for your dose of dish.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Gay Talk 2.0, an LGBT podcast, streaming live on Digital Stream Radio, where you can access that live stream at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or ish, by visiting digitalstreamradio.com. On today's show, we're going to have artist Davis Mallory join us. He's a singer, songwriter. He's been on the show with us before. He's also, I believe, part of the cast of The Real World on MTV at some point in time in history. And I may have that wrong, but we'll figure it out at some point. Anyway, my name is Tom. Shit is going on around here. We're just running at 100 miles an hour. And I'm your host. And as always, with me are my incredible guest hosts and hosts, starting with the first one.
Hi, it's Elci.
And
Nick or Trish? Oh my God! I was like, "What's my name?"
Lord. And welcome you all to
The Dish.
Oh, we got it. I think we
Sort
got
of,
it.
kind of, yeah.
I'm excited for today's guest. New music on the show for the break. So for those of you who are tired of listening to some of the stuff that we have on the show for break, we've got some new tunes from Davis Mallory. He was kind enough to allow us to use that music so that you guys could have something pleasing to listen to during the break.
And different.
And new. So I'm excited. And anyway, how are you guys? Why don't we just quickly go over weekends? Because like I said, we're going at 100 miles an hour, or at least I feel like I'm on speed. And then we can jump into some stories. And then Davis, I'm excited. So Elci, how are you, my dear? Welcome back.
Hi, I'm happy to be back. I'm so sorry I missed last week.
That's okay. We had a
We
good
still
time.
don't have any beer here, so.
Yeah, I know. We're still
But we
waiting.
did vote.
We did.
Oh, yay. Thank you, guys.
So very quickly, because our listeners could help, why don't you tell
Yes.
us a little bit about what it was that you sent us today?
We are up for best craft beer bar in New York. And so the voting is going on right now.
Uh-huh.
And if you go to our Instagram page at Beerwax,
Can you spare beer wax? Because I know that you guys spell it very uniquely.
is B as in beer,
Uh-huh.
EIRWAX.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on Instagram, there is a link there for voting, and you can vote once a day.
So once
Oh.
a day, as many times as you want. Is that the deal?
Once a day for as many times as you want until closing.
That's amazing.
We're currently 8 out of 20, which
8
is
out of
impressive.
20.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so thank you guys.
That's awesome. So we're obviously going to continue to vote, and we encourage you to go there, go on their Instagram page, find a link, click on it, and vote. Let's help our girl Elci out. You love her so much.
Do
She's-
it.
Do it. Seriously.
Do it.
And so, yeah, let's do that. And so how has your week been?
Exhausting, but good. But good.
Yeah.
I'm like in this very weird. I'm done with school, and so I don't know what to do with my life. Maybe I should get a cat, but I'm allergic.
No.
Come to
Don't
Gay
get a
Talk.
cat. Don't get a cat.
Right. So maybe just come here more.
Yeah, be the fourth host and just come to Gay Talk
I
all
know.
the time.
Like I just could just infringe on your space.
Infringe. We invited
welcome you.
We want you.
Yay.
Yeah, boobs and all.
Oh
She
yeah.
popped him up.
Never mind.
Oh, my bro. I can't. I couldn't.
Lord have mercy.
Come on, Nick.
We saw that bounce.
I can't help it. People say boobs, and I have to like correct my posture because I know you're talking about mine.
Hey, listen, got to do what you got to do.
And so, so I've taken on a bunch of things at work only because apparently I have no social life. And so it's like I have no work for school to turn in. I'll just turn on my laptop and do more work. That's
They're-
my week. Super exciting. I'm
They're
wild that
just
way.
so presumptuous, right? It's like, hello, I have a life outside of work, right? Or at least that's what we like to all think, right?
I like to think that, but I realized that I haven't even been anywhere in forever. So I had to book a couple of trips.
Oh, there you
So where you
go.
going?
I'm going to Mexico, Isla Mujeres, in two
Yes.
weeks. I'm
Nice.
going home to Dominican Republic in
DR.
May. And I'm trying to see if I can stick Cuba in there before the summer
So let me
for now.
ask you. So you mentioned Cuba. There is a very limited way in which you can travel to Cuba.
There are 12 reasons why you can go.
And can you explain to us how you are going to manage to do that? I mean,
Right. So we were there last summer, and one of the reasons is literally to help the Cuban people. And what that means is once you're there, you cannot stay or even eat at a state owned hotel
okay.
or any property, because if you're there to help the economy of the Cuban people, you should be going to privately owned Airbnbs and restaurants.
Nice.
So
Okay.
that
So let's talk about Airbnb for starters. So you go there and you go on Airbnb and you find a place and how secure and how safe are these Airbnbs? I mean, in your opinion?
super secure. I mean, and the accommodations are we're spoiled, and
Uh-huh.
so we think that everywhere we go has to be 8 stars or we're like above it. But so when we went, it was a total of 8 or 9 of us, I think it was. So we stayed at an old house um with 7 rooms. So everybody pretty much got their own room. They're all air conditioned.
Oh, hello.
There's yes. Um
You're in the Caribbean. You have to make sure you
Yes, you
have
do
air
have to buy
conditioning.
your own water because
Okay.
it is in short supply. So you have to make sure when there is water in the local grocery stores that you're like on that line to get water. So we knew all these things. Yeah, so we knew all these things going in. And the first day we got
Can you
there,
not like Amazon water there beforehand?
no, because
No.
I'm embargo.
Well, there's
that
that.
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
thing. So we make sure there was a convenience store not too far from our Airbnb, and we stayed right outside of Havana. We were maybe like 2 miles away, so it was a nice walk along the beach. Um,
Oh, nice.
yeah, it
So
was
they call it
El Malecón.
el malecón.
Yeah.
Yes. Here we go
So
again. Get your dictionary ready, girl.
yes. So El Malecón so is a nice, just under 2 mile walk from our Airbnb to Old Havana, and it's a really pleasant walk. Yes, supplies are hard to come by. So if you're not eating at state-owned hotels, cow is really tough. So you're not gonna do the whole ropa vieja and yumminess, because supplies are limited for private citizens. And it's important that you get your receipts, because on your way back into the U.S., they might ask you to show that you in fact went there to support the people. So
Gotcha.
you have your receipts from places that are not state owned. So we make friends with the local. Our driver was amazing. So we hung out with the locals, and he took us to all the spots for that he knows are privately owned, so that you are in fact supporting the local economy. Um, the whole "you shouldn't go there with dollars" thing, once you do the math, the exchange rates for buying euros or any other currency to bring into Cuba to turn into Cuban money, which is different for external. So the currency that the citizens use is different than what you would use as a visitor, because obviously they want to prevent you from being able to leave money
So do
to
you
people.
use pesos there?
They're pesos. So I forget what the two are called, but one currency is for travelers, and then the other currency is for
For
the
locals. Yeah,
citizens, right?
for citizens.
So, and that's just to prevent you from from having an influx of money that's not accounted for by the government,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But people have all these horror stories. Yes, it's tough. It's tough for the people who live there. When they can't get razors, and if they don't make it to the line in the local stores, they're gonna run out of socks, and now you have to send your kids with socks that have holes in them. So it's really, really tough, but it's an amazing experience. And the people there are just so warm and helpful. And you get into this whole exchange and supporting your neighbor, where I have a pint of milk, do you have eggs? Well, yeah, I have extra eggs, so I'll give you the eggs and you can give me the milk. And so that culture transcends to everyone there, even visitors, where everybody's super helpful, super warm. I loved being there. Can't
That's
wait to go
amazing.
back. Yeah.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it's a struggle and it is heartbreaking to see how life really is inside the island.
I would love to visit, but I'm afraid that I'm too femme.
So yes, I did
I was
not.
like,
So,
I'm never going
You're
there.
like super queer.
so
So
you
yes,
know, and
that
I'm also super opinionated. So if something were to happen,
yeah.
I'd probably open my big ass mouth and end up getting
Lock her
arrested.
up.
Hmm
Yeah, in Cuba. um,
So,
so yes, so yes, you you know I have a lot of questions about everything
uh-huh.
all the time, and there are certain things that do make the citizens uncomfortable when you ask. So you do have to be mindful of that. Politics are kind of, do you really want to make them uncomfortable by asking
Sorta.
questions? Yeah, I know,
Like,
right?
where do you stand on the whole, regime and stuff like that?
Right. So, of course, it's an oppressive government, and so it's tough for them to feel comfortable speaking to strangers,
Yeah.
outsiders, really, about what their true feelings are, what their true views are about the regime and how things are. But, there's lots of history to be learned. And you will find people who are comfortable having certain conversations, but you just have to be mindful not to break certain etiquette when it
Yeah.
comes to politics, because it does make people uncomfortable. Yes, Nick, spit it out.
No, I'm
It's
just never gonna
Don't
go.
choke it. Just come to Cuba.
No.
So yes, Tommy, you would have to leave your rainbow boa in the States.
See,
uh-huh.
like, I can't deal with that. Like, I can't do that. Like, it bothers me that when I go home to visit my family, I have to be guarded about the fact that
I
I'm like a
know.
massive mo.
Mo is not even the word.
Like it, and I get it. I do get it. But, like, at the same time, it's like, it's not going to change if you don't introduce a culture that is actually relevant and happening.
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've watched a lot of documentaries, and there is a very active LGBT community in Cuba. They're considered very rebellious. There are a lot
Because
of
they're
people.
gay.
Well, because they're trying to better their lives in a socialist government that unfortunately thinks that who you are is wrong and trying to change perception. Just imagine Cuba today being what the US was 60 years ago.
Oh, so they need some drag queens to start a riot?
Badly.
Badly.
Okay.
And so there have been a lot of there's a couple of documentaries actually on Netflix that I watched. I can't really tell you what the names are right now because obviously I didn't think that this was going to be the conversation that we had today.
You're welcome.
But there are, and it's very eye-opening to see how the LGBT community functions. Obviously there's very limited, internet connection there. And so
Oh, right.
you can't access things like Grinder and like
No.
sort of kind of find like an
His
underground.
go-to grinder.
Happenings.
Well, of course, girl, I want that Cuban dick. You know I do.
We all do.
So, but the thing is, it's like you can't just go like in this underground network and find, the
It's
the,
tough.
the hot spots. It's very tough.
It is tough.
And
And yes, so internet access is super restricted. So El Malecón does have universal Wi-Fi, so you can go online there. But things like WhatsApp, they have their own version, and I forget what it's called. And
it's
like,
probably some version of like
oh,
Alibaba or something like that.
it's like,
No, Alibaba is actually a payment system out of.
oh my God, can you be whiter
China.
right now?
No,
Yeah.
I can't. I literally took a photo of myself 5 minutes ago. I was like, I'm so white in this room.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
I'm glowing.
unless you're translucent.
If you saw what I
Unless-
saw this
Not
morning, you'd be
that
glowing
white.
too. I'm sorry, go.
Unless you are at a state-owned hotel, you're not gonna have internet. And even to pick up the local Wi-Fi in like the plazas, the parks, which is there available to the residents, um, you have to get like a little chip to put on your phone or buy a phone there, and then you can go online. But even if you can go online, it's
Them
super
bitches are
restricted. Like
tracking
it's
you.
oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have to worry about them, knowing exactly what you're
Right.
doing.
It's like China.
Yeah,
because-
I'm gonna
so-
send a box of gay porn to everybody out there.
Do it. So
Do
what
it.
what I did, because you also cannot bring stuff to give to people. So, and my name is not really Elsie, in case the Cuban government is listening.
They probably are.
I brought so I travel with a backpack. If
Uh-huh.
it's 10 days or less, is a backpack. If I can't bring it on the plane with me, don't ask me for it. Yes, yes. Like Trish,
She travels light. She washes the same thing
if I
over
have
and
to
over
wash
again.
my clothes where I go, I'm okay.
Oh no, I wash my clothes, but like
I do
a
sneakers
backpack.
and 10 days or less is a backpack.
I go for a week, and it's like
The
I
Five
empty my
suitcases.
closet into a
My
suitcase.
guy friends, why do you need 3 outfits a day? We're not even gonna be home enough for you to shower that often. Can you please? There are a bunch
You
of
never
divas.
know.
I
and you
might
have
shower
to
in
be
somebody
prepared.
else's place.
You might shower in somebody else's place.
He
That's
definitely
true.
will shower in
But
someone
then
else's
you take
place.
their T-shirt. Just
well,
saying.
well, true, but then you're taking stuff from people who don't may have not have.
In Cuba,
much.
this is very true.
Yeah,
So
so
what
it's
I
like
did was,
Also, yeah.
I
like, do they
can't.
have so? So what I did was, I made a bunch of little care packages with things like socks and T-shirts, like undershirts, little tank tops, um, and I separated them by size, right? And gendered, unfortunately, because things are what they are.
Yep.
Shaving cream, toothpaste, aspirin, a bunch of readers. They're like gold. Little reader glasses that you buy at the
Mhm.
99-cent store, those are gold there. Because, it's universal health care, quote unquote, and you have to have the supplies to. So that was a big hit amongst the older community. And so we would drive around along the roads, and like if we would stop and you look at the kids and they're walking around with no shoes, my friend who has a child gave me like a bunch of shoes and sandals that her kid is too grown now to fit into, and a bunch of little dresses. And so I turned those into little care packages, divided them in little Ziploc bags, and then as we met people and they would comment about their needs, I would be like, oh, I happen to have an extra pair of readers. Would you like them? And they're like, oh, but what are you going to use? But, wink, wink, I brought them for that purpose. And they'll be like, well, these are mine, but I have an extra pair. You can keep them. Because if you bring stuff, you have to give it to the government to redistribute, and then you're defeating the purpose.
Of course, because
So right.
only the certain elite will get, some
Unfortunately,
of the, yeah.
right. I
So,
mean,
but how do
socialism is not the worst. It's just always poorly executed.
So how do you get through customs when you get there and explain to them all these care packages?
That's just how I pack. They're socks and underwear. You don't know what I go through. You don't know my sweat habits.
Hello.
You don't know how hairy I am. Of course, I need 100 freaking racers. So I had an interesting thing happen where at the Airbnb we stayed, the guy that kept the grounds, the gardener, so he gets there and he takes off his good shoes, right? And he has sandals with 2 pairs of socks for protection, and they were all torn. So I'm looking at his feet and I'm like, how's your supply on socks? And he's like, oh, last week we had a shipment, but then I wasn't able to get off work on time to make it to the line. And by the time my kids got there, they ran out. So, and this was like right before school started. And I was like, well, I might have some socks extra from all these dudes, right? And so I bring out 2 little care packages. He told me he had a teenage girl too at home. And, there were racers and feminine products that are really, really hard to come by. The man cries. And it just broke my heart that something that we take for granted can mean so much to someone else. And we don't think about these things.
That's
I won't even
incredible.
go to work if I don't get a shower, let alone wear deodorant.
Right. So all those things, if they run out, if the supply runs out and you don't have the right number on that line, you're not getting deodorant. So
That's
there was
crazy.
deodorant, feminine products, razors, and he literally cried. He's like, oh, my little girl, it's always upset at me because she doesn't understand that I'm not always able to get her razors. I can't believe that you guys actually just brought this with you. But, even then you have to be careful when you have the conversation when you're like, well, I didn't bring them for this. I just happen to have extra. Because you never know.
Well,
Yeah.
because you never know who's listening.
Right.
That's
You never know. Like, you can't even go into a hospital or an orphanage and drop things off, which is terrible. But things like aspirin, it's gold.
That's
It's called. So I
incredible.
bought like 2 huge 300 pill bottles of like ibuprofen and aspirin, and I separated those into little baggies. But they're all in my checked bag, and it was a group of us, and everybody else also had a backpack. So it was like, oh well, we wanted to check just the one bag. So that's everybody's toiletries in there,
Yeah.
you know. So
That's incredible. And
it was
it's
interesting.
heartbreaking, but it's
It's
also incredible.
heartbreaking. It's hard, but they're
And
so warm. Like it's a completely different experience culturally from the Cubans that have actually left the island, the ones that we get to talk to here. Because we don't always understand their background and
mhm.
why they left.
Mhm.
And they were trying to hold on to their own money and all of that. So it's not, you're not always, like when you meet Dominicans here, it's the other way around. Dominicans that are well to do will never leave the island because they're a bunch of elitists and they kind of have to mesh with the common folk when they leave the country.
Mhm.
So, but for Cuba, it was different because obviously the government was not going to allow them to keep their properties
Mhm.
or,
And that's very
thrive
evident
as a
in a lot of
business.
the artists that fled
Yeah,
the island, Celia Cruz being one of them.
right. And the art on the island,
It's
it's
incredible.
incredible.
Yeah.
Like next time I come, I'm definitely going to have to finagle some stuff so that I can come back with some pieces because we went to Factory of Art,
Mhm.
Cuban Factory of Art, and that place is amazing. The works on the wall, the displays, some social commentary, which we thought was kind of interesting, that they're allowed to display it. But it's amazing. It's amazing in there. I love that place. Definitely
Interesting.
trying to go back this year.
Hmm.
That's interesting. And it's I would love to go, but again, I'm too much of
Yeah. No.
a Mary to
I
pass.
didn't I didn't see a lot of flamboyantness while I was there.
What is she trying to say?
But I'm saying that you're super queer.
Yeah.
I'm
Take it.
sorry, I didn't know if I was being clear.
Truth.
But also the few conversations that I had, because apparently there's a gay person inside me. And I can't
Apparently.
apparently is it obvious? It's a little
Yeah, it was
obvious.
obvious.
I know it's a little obvious. Um, the responses were not as negative as you would think. Not negative at all. Actually, there was not a huge, rejection speech. You can tell how someone feels about certain things in the way that they speak, even when they're trying to
Mhm.
be prudent
Yeah.
in the use of their words. You can tell by their tone and their choice of words. And I did not encounter that. Like, I was never disappointed.
And that was my experience with this documentary, right? The people accept it. The people are aware
Yeah.
it exists. The people are aware, but it's really how the government views
Right.
things. And
Right. And the consequences.
yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, you get into a fight with the government and, whatever. No, you're
Y-
blacklisted
You
and you can
disappear.
go away. Right.
And you
Right.
can't just like go to court and expect that they'll rule in your favor. That will never happen
Right.
there.
Right. So, it's a little tougher to advocate for civil rights in places like Cuba and even China.
Wow. Well, um, it is 6:30.
That was your weekend.
That was your weekend. I feel that we do have a guest that's coming on. Like I said, we're running at a 100-mile-an-hour pace here today. So we're going to leave you with some new music, of course, by the incredible Davis Mallory. And when we come back, we have him on the show to talk about this new music that he's put out and the meaning behind these new 4 songs. So I'm going to just ask that you guys enjoy it. And when we come back, we have Davis Mallory. And I'm going to have to, of course, figure out how to do
Long
my
story short, I
Mhm.
learned this weekend that turtles can breathe out of their butthole. So when you're ready, we can
You
go to
shut
break.
up.
I swear to God.
You shut
Like
up.
it's a thing.
I am Googling this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and apparently our boss at the bar too. So,
Oh.
He's a
with that,
tortoise.
yeah, of course. Here's some music. We'll be right back.
Greeted by a new sunrise. Tomorrow's hopes are in my eyes. Paints horizons in the sky that's meant for me, meant for me. Ready now to face the day. Done with fears of yesterday. Waited long greeted by a new sunrise. Tomorrow's hopes are in my eyes. Paints horizons in the sky that's meant for me, meant for me. I believe in love at first sight. 'Cause some things are worth the fight. And some you learn to say goodbye, like letting go. I believe. To me, that surface, I believe, I believe.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the break. That was Believe by Going Deeper, featuring Davis Mallory, which is the artist that joins us now. Welcome back to the show, Davis.
Thank you guys so much. It's good to see you again.
Great to see you. I see you have your pussy sitting right next
Oh my
to
God,
you.
let's not.
I love the little
Are
kitty
you,
cat.
are you
She's
not
gorgeous.
a pussy fan?
No, I hate cats.
I love animals, so.
Why? How can someone hate cats?
Well, here's my thing. One, I'm allergic, and two,
Okay.
they literally shit in a box, step on it, and then walk on your counters. That makes me crazy.
But
Fair.
Right? It's fair.
But that's only if you let them.
You can't not let a cat walk on the counter.
You say no.
Cats have a mind of their own. They do their own thing.
Mm.
And they're going to be like, really, bitch? Fuck off.
Oh, Lord have mercy. That's too
Maybe I don't
funny.
like cats because they're too much like me.
So are you a dog person?
No.
Okay.
He's just not a person, period.
Are you a person?
Sometimes I wonder.
I want kids.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So, anyway, so welcome back. Just so that you know who's sitting in the room. This is Nick on this side. If you don't remember from our last time, I think it was like over a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm Tom, and
Hi, Tom.
our other co-host, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it because he's doing some school stuff. So he's been out for a couple of weeks. Chris, so Elci over here has stepped in, and she's joining us on today's episode.
Hi.
And so we're going to talk about music. You've been very busy.
I've been hustling.
So
I've been keeping at it.
It's been quite a long time since the last time we all spoke on the show. So just for listeners who may be tuning in, in recent episodes, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and then we'll jump in right into your music.
Well, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm a singer-songwriter. I basically write music for DJs. So like that song you just heard, Believe, is with a Russian DJ duo. And then I put out my own original music, and it's kind of a hybrid of like pure pop with like some country influences. I'm a gay artist, so there's like gay themes in my lyrics.
Wait,
As
you're
you
gay?
Well, keep going. What was your question?
You're gay?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
We
You're
need to
gay?
we need to end this. Like, we don't support that.
Oh, come on.
Wait, I'm starting to suspect this might be a gay show.
Oh my gosh!
Elci.
Oh, he's definitely gay. He's definitely gay. If you can see what we're
Crotch
seeing.
shot. That was super gratuitous.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to be watching this on reruns now. All right.
We might all.
Got comfortable. So
Yeah,
you're like
I
the
got
only gay
hot.
man that I know that lets a
Nervous.
pussy sit next to him.
She loves to sit next to her dad.
Oh, she's gorgeous. I love it.
Oh.
So you're an artist. You're based out of Nashville, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And so you've been doing a lot of traveling and doing music. You're working with
Yeah.
artists all over the world. Tell us
Yeah.
what that experience is like.
Well, I mean, I last year I was writing music in Berlin and Amsterdam and LA mostly. Um, and then I reach out to DJs like either through Facebook or Instagram or, contact DJs managers that I just like to listen to. And then I send them my available songs and then they're like, give me this one. So then I send them the vocals and then they work on them and send me back versions that are cool. And that's kind of how my career goes right now. So,
So you have three songs right now that I had not heard before. One of them
yeah.
is Rip, one of them is Shirtless, and of course Believe, which was the last song that we heard right
Yeah.
before the break. Um, let's talk about Rip a little bit. This one is a little personal.
Yeah.
It's you are currently sober,
Yep. 3 years.
and so
Nice.
Rip talks a little bit about that.
Yep.
Tell us your journey. Tell us a little bit about the journey, why you wrote the song, and what inspired the lyrics.
Well, first off, I call it RIP. So just, and it's
R.I.P. Okay.
yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, it's easy to think of as RIP. But it basically is about saying RIP to the old me, which can really apply to anyone's old version of themselves. I mean, I think as I've grown up, there's like the real world is a great version of a young me that I'm not necessarily the same person. So it's just kind of like a rebirth song, RIP to the old me. But for me specifically, I kind of wrote about it in the press that the old version of me was also drinking alcohol, and so that's another version of the old me. Um, yeah, and I wrote it last year during Grammy Week in LA with a really talented duo. The producer is Nico Pop, and the singer who you can hear his voice in the chorus is Keon Palmer, and they
Okay.
both are just really fantastic writers and producers. So it was,
So
yeah, a
so
co-write.
let's dive a little deeper here. So obviously we're all drinking Trulies right now and having our life over here on Gay
I
Talk,
see them now.
but there is this concept of abusive substance and alcohol and all that stuff within the gay community. Does that have
Hmm.
anything to do with this song?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if I could be an agent of change with what I'm doing musically, it would be to be a voice that sort of steers people that it's like not cool to do drugs and drink. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people that are like dangerously affected by alcohol and drugs, like too drunk. They've gotten themselves addicted. Like sadly, one of my mom's friends died yesterday from she suffered from alcoholism that
Oh
lost her
no.
job, it lost her marriage. It
Mm.
ended up losing her relationship with her daughters, and then it just lost her life. So,
I'm
and I
sorry
was
to
in New
hear that.
York not too long ago, and I witnessed a guy who was overdosing on GHB, and he was having convulsions from it. That's really scary, and I just wish our culture didn't push alcohol so heavily in the media and making it a cool thing to do because it's ultimately it's just destroying our lives.
Why do you think it is that in the gay community that is so prevalent?
I mean, my theories are plentiful. I mean, I think in some way, as a gay person living in a culture that's straight, you do feel in your youth sometimes like an outcast or an oddball in the culture, and from that place of like feeling left out, medicating through
Mm,
substances can sort of like mask the pain.
right.
Hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of people do get addicted to pleasure inducing things. um, but I don't know that that's the only reason. I think a lot of it is it's not specific to sexuality. I mean, it's truly not a sexuality issue. I mean, there's millions of heterosexuals that are addicted to substances as well.
Hmm.
So
I
just
think
like it's like a human existence thing.
I,
Right.
I think it's interesting though because gay bars for a very long time it was the
Safe
one
spaces.
place you could go. It was the
Hmm.
one place you could go and feel comfortable being you, guarded you, but you
Yeah.
could go there, you could drink, you could fuck, you could do whatever you want, and that was it's true.
It's true.
And like you could just be you, and that's why I think that this concept of like partying and drinking and drugs is like so prevalent in the gay community.
Yeah.
That's a very good point because we tend to, and we've had this conversation before when I talk about the need for normative conversations, right? Um, we tend to essentially blame, I guess, would be a word for lack of a better one, everything that happens within the community to the sexuality of the members of the community. And I have these conversations all the time. No, you have a person who's been an outcast for most of their life, and self-medication works, and that's why we all do it as humans. And
Hmm.
so it's, to your point, not necessarily, it's not really linked to your sexuality. It has to do with you being a human being, feeling lonely and rejected all the goddamn time,
For
which is why
sure.
we need
I
to
love.
stop being dicks. Just
Yeah.
don't be a dick.
I love you, Elsie. Like I love
do.
you.
No, I agree. I really wish people were more thoughtful of each other,
Right.
like in dating, or just in human existence. It just feels like we're in a very lonely society and a selfish society, and there's not a lot of care about how you make people feel. So
Unfortunately, right. I
ghosting
think
is
I
a
hurt
big
you.
thing.
Oh my God, ghosting! I cannot. Let's
Oh my
not talk about
God.
it.
Let's
Yeah.
not.
So is there anything with your dating life that is infused in the music that you currently released?
Well, the three or four songs that I shared you, like "Shirtless" and "Believe," they're all not really related to dating. "R.I.P." isn't either. The song that I had just come out today, called "Mint That," is a song
Uh-huh.
I wrote about my last long-term relationship, which was with an Israeli. I met him on a trip to Tel Aviv during Gay Pride season. We
Wow, that must
dated.
be
We had this like really intense mutual attraction, and then I had to return to Nashville and try to figure out how to make a long distance thing work. I literally was looking up trying to get an immigration, like a visa to Israel, or see if I could get a spousal agreement and try to like make it work where he could come to America. And I wrote the song "Meant That," which is, he thought I was crazy for saying that I could see myself marrying him, but I meant it because I just was like, this person is like beautiful, and he's just feeding all my love languages, and he's a singer songwriter. So um, that is an example to, yes, writing about my love life.
Which I wanted to ask about, obviously. In a release today, you had
Yeah,
a radio station that was doing the exclusive release. And
yeah.
so now you have this track out. Where can people find that track?
Yeah, I was just in my kitchen telling Alexa to play it, and she did for me. And it's with a DJ named Chris Farvaro, who interestingly has the same birthday as me, and he's a New York City-based producer. And so it's Chris Farvaro and Davis Mallory, called "Mint That." And yeah, it aired on my local hometown like pop radio station in Atlanta, Georgia today, and it's apparently getting played 3 times a day every day this month, which is really cool because I haven't had a lot of FM radio play yet in my career.
That's
So this was
amazing.
a milestone. Yeah.
So, so you're writing music in Tennessee, in
Hmm.
Nashville.
Yeah.
It's the writers' capital of the world, right? People go there to write music and collaborate and be part of this exclusive music scene that is Tennessee, or that is
Yeah.
Nashville. As a gay artist, how does that translate to you? Do you find it difficult working with other artists in that realm, because you're part of the community, or do you think that at this point, even though it's a southern town and a southern city, um, that it's okay now?
I would say it's very okay. I never feel like I'm excluded from an opportunity based off of my sexuality. And when I bring an idea into a room, like a songwriter's room, I'll give you a sneak peek at a future song. I wanted to write a sexual song about cowboys, like kind of being like,
Mm.
Yes.
you guys are sexy, you guys are hot. Like I love a cowboy, and
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it with a straight guy and a straight girl, and they were all about it. I didn't feel embarrassed or shy to write the song. Like everyone was like, let's do it, you know. So I feel like bringing those themes into the songwriting room are not something I have internalized homophobia about or get any pushback in a creative room. So I think it's a great time to be a open homosexual in Nashville.
Well, that's amazing. Well, that's good news, certainly, and
Yeah,
hopefully we'll see you in a cowboy outfit, right?
you shall. In fact, I started kind of putting more cowboy costumes on, and it was honestly like, which came first, the costumes or the song? It was the costumes. I was like, now I need to write a song to match the outfit that I'm wearing.
Did you get
So
cowboy boots?
I have boots, I have a hat,
And
I
do
have
you keep them on?
straps, I have assless straps.
Okay, we gotta stop this
Oh,
because
So-
like I
No,
have
I'm
a
just
weird
kidding.
we
cowboy
do.
I'm just kidding.
fetish. Like we
Me
cannot walk down this
too.
road right now.
So you don't have
I'm just
cowboy
kidding.
boots on now?
I'm sorry, what?
You don't have cowboy boots on now?
I just came from the gym. So
Okay. All right.
this is
Well,
my
We're
floor
not
No
next
worries.
door.
objectifying you or anything, but I am
I
totally
am.
gonna whip out my lady penis. Smack you around a little bit. You put on those boots.
Oh, Lord have
We'll be in
mercy.
business.
Well,
Wow.
I have to tell you, you've been pumping out a lot of really great stuff that I
Thank
really
you.
have enjoyed.
Thank
The
you.
first time that you came on our show, one of the songs that you had released then was Loud. I
Yeah.
fucking love that song.
Thank
It's
you.
been on playlist here. We play it on the show all the time as part of our breaks. And so you're doing great stuff. But you also have a couple of songs here, Shirtless, that was released
Hmm.
last year, correct?
Yeah.
Tell me a
Shirtless
little
was
bit about
like a
Shirtless.
yes. Shirtless was like two funny stories about Shirtless. One, I had a meeting with my music publicist, and she was like, "Davis, what is your most interactive social media?" And I was like, "It's shirtless photos of myself."
Uh-huh.
100%.
She's
Yeah.
like,
I
then
agree.
you need to write a song called Shirtless. That's your demographic. That's your target. So within a week, I had written Shirtless.
That's
Um,
amazing.
I wrote it in Sweden. I actually sang in Stockholm, Sweden during Euro Pride in the summer of 2018. And I opened up for the winner of Eurovision, Netta, who's this Israeli artist that is actually who sort of like sent me to Israel. Her and her manager were like, "You must visit Israel," and that's what prompted me to go. And I wrote Shirtless in Stockholm. It's like this sort of like it's kind of the I think it's kind of the first song that really talks to like how hot men look shirtless. It's sung by a male,
Mm-hmm.
which I like wanted to just put something out there that was unique and different. And it references my hometown of Atlanta, and I grew up going to Florida a lot, and so just kind of references like places that are native to me. And I think, to be honest, it was probably the first time I ever really tried to write something that felt like within my brand. Like really think about like what is a Davis Mallory brand song, and I started writing more after that, where it was like, okay, this song has to do with. I wrote a song called Atlanta in Sweden that's coming out soon. That's about my hometown, and I wrote a song about my dad. I think I started writing after Shirtless, like songs about certain subjects that were more like the cowboy song I mentioned, kind of like branded songs.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And I'm certainly excited to see anything, more new stuff
Yeah,
and anything that you're writing. I love the fact that, like you said, it has elements of being very, like southern in a sense, but it's also got that pop and dance into it. And when you play the music, you can dance to it. You can find yourself, catching yourself, hey, I got the tune in my head. And that's what
yeah,
Loud did for me when the immediately after we had done or finished our interview with Loud, I couldn't I just want to get fucking loud, and I couldn't just
yeah.
stop saying that, and it stuck with me for a very long time. So when we got your communication asking, hey, listen, I've got some new stuff, I was like, absolutely, yes. Come
Thank
on,
you.
tell us what you're doing. Are
Yeah,
you doing anything fun? Any concerts coming up?
yeah. Like
Traveling?
I had a couple highlights in 2018. I sang for the Denver Nuggets as their halftime show, which was televised, so it had 4 million viewers. And because I was on Real World Denver, they invited me there. And
That's
then
cool.
in the year 2019, like I played a bunch of local to Nashville shows and LA shows, but I didn't do anything quite as exciting as that. But this year, I really put my like touring hat on, and I'm trying to like get back into the touring spectrum. So I just got booked to perform at Sonoma Pride in Northern California,
Hmm.
Okay.
and I'm in talks to perform at more prides. I think even today, someone in Australia was talking about booking me. So I really want to just get out and like tour this summer, the new music I have, and really do like a great pride spectrum. But prides are not really fully booking yet. I think they kind of start to book in the next month or two. So
Well, I tell you one thing, if you end up in New York City,
yes,
we're not too far away. We may end up
yeah,
at Pride this year. You let us
yeah,
know. We
Why
would
would you
love
bring
to
that up?
sit
I
you
would love to.
down next
Yes,
to us in person.
yes,
We'll bring all the
yes.
equipment down and do what we have to do, and get an interview so that we could sit down and have a very organic conversation while we're all in the room.
I'm about it.
So if
I'm
you're
gonna
in
be
New
there.
York City, make sure you let us know.
Yes.
So, my last question for you is what, so all of this music that's coming out right now, what is your hope and dream within the gay community? What do you want? What's the story you want to tell? What do you want people to take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like already kind of spoken to just like my passion about healthier living and like respecting our bodies, like not killing our bodies with toxins and like intoxicating us. That's like a passion of mine. Um, I'm just all about like the journey of the soul and like healing yourself, like just really having everyone be their best version of themselves. And as I write more and more music, I'm trying to also sort of channel that, what is it called, like the law of attraction, where what
Hmm.
you put out comes back to you.
Yep.
So just being really mindful about the lyrics I'm writing and putting out positive messages into my music. Um, I was raised in a religious Christian Orthodox family, and I'm from the South. So also being that's sort of my brand identity when it comes to my music is kind of like Southern, somewhat somewhat religious person dealing with the world that we're living in and all the like hard things that we experience as humans traveling through this life that we live. That's kind of my nutshell.
That's pretty amazing. It made me think of we opened the show today with s- like a stupid spin-off of what Pete Buttigieg had to deal with when a kid asked him, "Well, you know, uh, can you give me any advice about coming out?" If there was a kid that came up to you and was like, "I want to be a musician, I want to be a singer, and I want to come out, but I don't know how to do it," like how would you go about telling that person to embrace who they are and come out?
Well, I knew I was gay in the early high school aged life, but I didn't come out until my senior year of college. And I felt this like heavy weight lifted off of me once I did, and all this internal fear of like rejection from my peers. When you're a youth, it's so important to be cool, you
Right.
know? And then even as an adult, I still feel like we probably feel that. But especially feel it in your youth. So I just feel like we live in a society that is so open and accepting of homosexuality now that I don't really feel like getting that kind of pushback is as common as it might have been when we were all younger, and even
Mhm.
people that are older than us might have experienced that sort of like social outcast. But it's case by case. I'm sure there's cultures and societies, neighborhoods where it's still frowned upon, especially ultra orthodox or parts of the world that are not America. So, um, and in those environments, I don't know, because sometimes I get messages on Instagram from people that live in like Iraq and Iran or India or places where it's not as cool and acceptable. And they ask me what to do. And I feel this sense of guilt because I don't really know what to tell them. I don't want to put anyone's life at risk, for example.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
I also want to tell them, like, be you and be honest because I've never regretted coming out. And I really haven't dealt with like homophobia or meanness from others since I've come out.
That's
Like, I
great.
thought it was more myself just keeping myself in the closet.
That's incredible. So, we're going to obviously, I'm going to milk that music to death. Because it's awesome and great, and so people will be listening to that for quite a while
Thank
during
you.
our breaks and stuff, and we certainly appreciate the fact that you thought of us and coming
Yeah,
back and seeing us.
I
We're
appreciate y'all for having me on.
super super excited, to see you. So if you're working on anything new, make sure that you do the same. Hit us
I
up. We'll
will.
be more than
Yeah.
happy to discuss it on the show and feature your songs. We're going to put all the information on and links and stuff to the song on tonight's post, so people will
Thank
be
you.
able to see that. And Davis, once again, thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Virtual high five to you each.
She's got her lady penis on, like,
Yeah, I'm coming for you.
I
so
can feel it.
Respectfully,
It's big.
because I respect. It is big. Why would I get a lady penis and not have it be huge? Grow up. This
Aw.
one.
So
so go ahead.
before we say goodbye, where can everybody find you and your music?
That's right.
Across Spotify, I just actually put a Spotify playlist up of my favorite pop songs. If you want to go check those out, it's Davis's favorite pop songs on Spotify. But
How
yeah,
clever.
Instagram, SoundCloud, YouTube. I'm not really a TikTok person yet. I feel like I'm a slow adopter to whole
I
TikTok.
feel like you should do a lot of shirtless TikToks.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
Someone said, "Name one thing that makes you feel old," and I was like,
TikTok. 100% TikTok, yes.
I'm like, what is it? Why do we need it instead of Instagram? Like, how long is it gonna last?
Oh, I'm not
I
alone in
am
this world.
100% with you. Literally, so I was in a board meeting the other day, and one of our board members brought up TikTok, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You're like in your like late 50s and you're bringing up TikTok. Well, it's the new hot thing. We got to get on board with it. I'm like, no. No.
Which
I just
nephew?
don't
Which
like-
nephew showed you
yeah.
TikTok?
Because you know
I
you're
think
gonna
I
have
just-
to. You,
Yeah,
you're.
I'm just like resistant to having to learn some new technology and have to do, like upload a channel and grow the
I'm not
channel. I don't want to have to
So
keep
many
doing that.
platforms already.
Yeah. See, we agree.
It's exhausting.
Well, either way, check him out. I certainly enjoy all the photos that you post on all of your social medias because I follow you on
Thank you.
all of them, and you're great.
you.
I'm
And,
on my way there.
and the music is amazing, and keep it coming. Seriously, keep
Thank
it
you, I
coming. Stick
appreciate
with it because you do great work. You have a fantastic voice, and I'm sure that in some way, shape, or form, you're going to touch a lot of people in the LGBT community.
Just make sure
and
they're
inspire
of
them.
age.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Coming from an HR perspective.
Oh my
I just,
God.
gotta throw that in there. Make sure everybody's kosher.
That's true. And you do me a favor and take care of that pussy that you got sitting next to
Oh
you.
my God.
I will.
And again, all of that's gonna be on replay later. I'm just gonna be like, all right, I gotta see that one more time. I gotta see that
Yep.
one more time. And my friend, thank you.
No.
My friend, thank you so much for joining us
Yep.
on tonight's
Thank you
episode.
for having me.
Have a wonderful night.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that of course was Davis Mallory, and he's been on the show many times before. We've had him, I think, like 3 times, and he's just
You
great.
can't get rid of them.
I wanted to make sure I could listen to you talk about me after.
I'm,
Oh,
so-
it's
I'm sorry.
happening.
You can stick
It's
around.
happening.
I'm just gonna mute the channel if you don't mind.
Okay, bye.
We love you. Bye.
So of course, that's Davis Mallory, and all of his music has been featured on the show for numerous years since the beginning. And check it out, and you'll be listening to it. Trust me. Trust me. I do. I'm just, I'm
So,
drooling
I bet.
over here.
No, he's really amazing. I mean, it's
does-
just really amazing to see somebody who's so out and proud and is so actively working in the music industry, which is, as we've known, racist, sexist, also like 100% generally led by white men. So it's amazing to see.
White straight man.
Yeah, it's amazing to see somebody who is so strong and confident in themselves coming out and doing all this music and putting something out there for people who otherwise would have never seen a gay artist do such amazing work.
And if anything is to be said about the work that he's doing, is that he's putting himself out there with music, and he's an openly gay artist. And it goes to show you, for example, in Pete Buttigieg's case, right? It's like, oh my God, how do you like apostrophe S that name?
Can I say that today somebody at work was like, wait, is that how you say his name? I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, I thought you were joking. I'm like, no, that's how you pronounce his
No.
name. Like, what
Like,
the fuck?
where have you been the past 2 years?
And so here's the thing, regardless of where you stand, whether you back him or don't back him, it's not about the politics, it's about the visibility of the fact that we have a gay man who's married to a man who's running for president, and then you see something like a child come up to him and say, can you help me in coming out? And honestly, my response to that would have been exactly what we said today. Honey, you just did.
Mhm.
Because I
Right.
mean, you literally walked up to me on the campaign trail. You're on national television asking me to help you come out. You just did.
That kid is super clever. He staged that.
That
Oh,
is
hell yeah.
that is
And
power.
He turned around and was like, "You see what I did there, Mom?"
He's like, if you don't get elected, I will.
And so
Give me 25 years.
and so regardless if it's, Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden or Pete Buttigieg or Amy Klobuchar or anyone else that's running in the Democratic field, the moment that we're experiencing, that what we're seeing is very historic.
And I think some of us have lost track of that when we say things like he's not gay enough. Like it's
That
so
pisses me off.
It's so fucking upsetting. Like, you're not being objective. If he were any other politician, and he walked around in assless chaps, you would not respect them. The man is a politician. He has a husband. You want him to walk around with boas and his ass hanging out? No,
Like, how
because
many
that's not
dicks
what.
do you have to suck to be super gay?
How many dicks do you have to suck to be super gay?
And so, or like,
Like he married a dick. I mean,
yeah.
can we
So,
please?
so my thing is just this. Listen, regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, my point is that we have a gay man running for president. It's 2020.
But not even running, like
Like
killing it.
Winning.
Killing it.
Winning. And so, when you think about the fact that, I think the Nevada caucuses were last Saturday, Bernie Sanders had an overwhelming win over the other competitors. But when you really think about it from a delegate perspective, it's only like 10 more than Pete Buttigieg,
Right.
which is
Right.
the next person that has the most. And so, it just goes to show you how far we've come.
I
And-
know, and it's amazing, and I wish the people will focus. If you're going to tear the man down, can you do what you do to every other politician and have it be on his platform and not his sexuality?
Yeah.
I know I'm
Oh my God, I
idealistic
think-
that way.
No, I mean, like, you're right. I agree with you, but it's not going to happen. I mean, we have gay people tearing him down.
That's what I mean.
Like, it's
Oh, this is not for the straight people. This is totally to the gay people. You need to stop. You can talk about his policies.
You
all
don't have to like
want.
him. You don't have to support him. But to tear him down, you are doing a disservice to the fucking community.
But like,
100%.
really, you're not gay enough, really.
it's-
I'm like,
And so I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's been a lot of queer shaming in the community, right? Femme
Yes.
shaming in the community. And so typically this type of shaming
but he's not
occurs.
feminine.
He's not feminine.
But I'm not talking about the fact that he is or not. The shaming comes as a result of men who are not feminine enough, like the mask for mask men in our community have been shaming our queer folks, our people who are effeminate gay people, and so they got tired of it, and we're like, stop, shaming the fact that I'm femme, and fine, you want to be mask for mask, but don't harp on me for being a little too femme. That's who I am, and that's what I want to be.
Right,
Don't-
but retaliating in the same way only
Worsens
makes
the
it
situation.
worse.
So they have a valid point to bring up the fact that they feel disenfranchised within our community, but that's not the way to solve your problem, right?
We have a gay candidate
Running for president.
and doing really, really well in this society. Can we focus on that?
I mean, he beat
But you know
Joe
what?
Biden.
But also, like, it's not even just that he, like, uplifts his partner constantly.
All the time.
His partner is literally
I
like,
love him.
he has a huge social media following.
Uh-huh.
And he also, like, I don't know, he just brings it all the time. And, like, you would not expect that of him. Like, when I first saw him, I was like, oh, okay.
And he had an interview that he did recently in where he was asked about Rush Limbaugh and his comments in regards to Pete Buttigieg and their marriage, etc. He's like, you know what? I've faced many Rush Limbaughs in my life, and so this is a walk in the park, right?
Right.
Like it's something to that effect. And so a lot of people need to realize how resilient gay folks are. We've gone through this over and over again from the moment you can, pinpoint it and start making fun of us to that pivotal moment in life where we grow up and say, I don't give a fuck anymore what you think, and I'm gonna be me. And then you take that shame that you thought it was and you wear it like a badge of armor so that it could never be used against you to hurt you again.
Can I just say that I think Pete should grow a beard back? Because, damn.
Oh my God. The
He looked
beard that launched
good.
1,000 like
Maybe we'll start taking him more seriously because he doesn't look like he's 17.
right. I cannot.
Oh, wait, he's an adult and he's married. No, I get it. Okay, you got my vote. We
Yeah,
Well,
get
here's
it.
my
So-
thing. It's like, you know why I like Pete? Here's my thing. This is why I like Pete. Because, and I never thought I would say this, because you remember I said I don't think it's the right time. But I like him because he's not crazy. He's not radical.
He's not at all.
No.
He is progressive. I mean, his
he's-
policies
He-
are,
he's
but
progressive,
he's not.
but he's also he's
He's a
progressive,
moderate,
he's
really,
liberal,
right.
but he's moderate, and he's like, all right, yeah, no, that needs to happen. Now, how can we actually make it happen without me spewing bullshit?
Right.
Yes.
And that's why I like Pete Buttigieg.
And I can see him getting some Republican votes because what we need on the left is somebody that's a little less to the left.
We need him
to get the rest of the country, and we don't get that. He is the moderate that we need. Unfortunately, even if we might not agree with all of his policies, but I mean, Bernie is he's lost me.
Yeah, he's lost me too, and like, and there. I mean, well, he never really had me, but. But I mean, like me and Tom had a long conversation the other day about some of his policies. It's like you spew all this stuff. How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
How's it going to happen? How are you going to give free education to all these people? How are you going to give free health care to all these people? Yes. Do I want it to happen? Sure, fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't afford private health insurance and you need health insurance, you should get health insurance.
Well, you know what?
But I shouldn't have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
One, and two, if you literally change everything on the fucking drop of a hat, our economy will crash.
That's right.
And then you'll go and you'll look at like somebody who's saying, oh well, well, Donald Trump is pouring, $108 million, $1 billion into the military right now.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile,
but he's also siphoning some of that money for his stupid wall.
Hold on, we're not talking about the fact that that money could be used for this. I'm like, okay, you make a good point. That money could be used elsewhere. That being said, what is the military? It's an economy driver. If you want to take that money and then just give it away, that's not an economy driver.
Yeah, but not only that, you have to think about our standing in the world, right? As the United States of America, you are the lone superpower in the world. Well, at least we used to be.
Yeah.
And as a result, you have to have a very hefty military budget to be able to keep that standing in the world.
But
even
not
through
that much,
diplomacy.
I mean, he's giving that money is ridiculous. He should not be.
It's grossly mismanaged. If you take into consideration how poorly our veterans do.
Yes.
A larger portion of that budget should go to taking care of them.
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
It's just grossly mismanaged. If you want to keep the military budget intact, and of course I say this as a lay person because what do I know? If you want to keep the military budget intact, okay, fine. But could you manage it better so that at least it doesn't feel like shit that we have that the prevalence of homelessness among our veterans is so
overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, and my question is, like, why are we pouring so much money into military defense right now?
It's
right?
not a thing anymore, right?
Well, no, I mean it is a thing. Like
it's not a thing.
We need to like support our military, of course, but like, why are we pouring millions and millions of dollars? I mean, like hundreds of millions of dollars into our military?
Because it makes billionaires rich.
Unfortunately,
100%. Yeah. Like you're right. It makes billionaires rich, but we are trillions of dollars in debt.
Mm-hmm.
Trillions.
And everybody wants to have the conversation about how well the economy is doing, but they're not looking at the economic growth against GDP, canceling it out when our debt it's like what in the 70s. 75%, something like that. It was 50.
It's gross.
It's
absolutely
literally gross. And you know where he lost me really. And I think that this might
Trump
just
or
be
Bernie?
a hack. Bernie.
Okay.
What?
I don't know. We were talking
Trump
lost me
never
at
had.
Trump
You
when he
lost
was
me at his
born
name.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's when he lost me.
Yeah. When he was
Bernie,
in the balls.
I almost want to say again, without knowing much of anything, that it's almost like a hack where he's introducing this whole, well, we're all going to collectively pay for it, and I'm going to increase income tax on the middle class, right? No, we already pay quite a lot.
A
It's
lot.
The tax break
And we don't get shit back.
is the tax, because I should say, and I know this is an unpopular comment to make, but I'm not against paying taxes because our taxes
No.
keep our public health, they keep our parks, they keep our health. I think that our tax money is grossly mismanaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're not going to change
The
that
entire
anytime soon.
government funds are grossly mismanaged.
Grossly mismanaged. But what Bernie doesn't get is that people that make a certain amount of money already don't pay the percentage that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you raise up their percentage to match us, you don't have to also raise the income tax on the middle class because that doesn't make any sense. And I have this conversation with a friend of mine who is a small business owner. And he's like, I just don't think it's fair that I'm going to be penalized for making more money because I'm busting my ass here trying to make more money. I'm not asking you to pay more money because you have to talk about percentages. If I'm making $10,000 a year and you're making 100,000, yes, the percentage that you pay is going to be greater, but so is your income. So don't be a dick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so,
So
there's
the
no,
Well,
just bring everybody up to whatever the rest of the nation is paying,
Mhm.
and that's going to take care of your budget.
It's
Don't
It's interesting because I think I personally I think that Bernie is very similar to Trump in the sense that he's appealing to
right,
a populace that likes what he's saying but
right,
doesn't quite get it.
right,
So at
right.
one point last week, somebody was saying, "Oh no, he's gonna tax. The taxes will go up for people that are making 3 figures or more, or 6 figures or
well,
more,
no, but
whatever he said.
if you go on his
6 figures
website,
or more, he said,
yeah.
or something. It was weird, and I was like, what are you talking about? He said 3 figures or more. He's like, well, that's like whatever. I can't exactly remember, but basically, he thought people that were going to be making more than $1 million a year were going to be taxed. I was like, no. What he said was people making more than $100,000 a year are going to see an increase in tax. Like, that's not where we need to tax people. 60% of American people right now make less than $60,000 a year.
Right.
You can't live on that.
Seriously.
And so, in the end, what we need to realize is that, listen, I wouldn't mind Medicare for all. I wouldn't mind free education. I wouldn't mind any of those things, but we need to do those and set the groundwork and get there in a responsible way. And then so that's one thing, right? And so going into that, you need to make sure that you keep in mind that the pharmaceutical industry,
Ugh.
that the insurance industry is so grossly tied to our economy that any disruption to these two markets will throw us into another recession. That's one.
We're going to be in a recession
Number
anyway, but
two, we're making all of these assumptions on what this man can do or cannot do without even knowing if we're going to have control of the Senate.
Right.
We have control of the
Right.
House, but we don't even know if we're going to keep that at this point, right? And so all of these amazing, beautiful, picturesque paradise policies are riding on the fact that we have control of the House, the Senate, and we also have a Democratic president in place. That is the only way you're going to get any of these things remotely passed through Congress.
But I think you're right. I think what needs to I think that's why I like Pete so much, because it's like we don't need that right now. What we need is somebody that can come in who has a level head, who's moderate enough that can balance a house, whether it's Democrat or Republican, can make things happen. And I think Pete's that guy. I don't think Bernie's that guy because I think Bernie is too far left. I think we need somebody that's going to come in and rebuild this this broken relationship
It's
of the
very
Republican
partisan.
and Democrat Party.
It's very partisan right now, and and in the end, right? We're pundits right now. We're playing the role of pundits, going back and forth about what should be, what shouldn't be, how we see things. But in the end, we're just gonna have to see how things played out, right? We just had a caucus. We have another primary happening in South Carolina next week, and then Super Tuesday, and then we'll get a better picture of who the front runner is, who we expect to be our nominee, and how we as an electorate are going to try and get behind whoever the candidate is. And it's going to be very tough. It's going to be very contentious, and we're just going to have to sit back and see where the chips land.
I feel like Elsie wants to say something. I just feel something bubbling up in her.
Your thought bubble just went.
Elsie always wants to say a lot. Elsie is also referring to herself in the third person. So maybe let's not start that rant.
Okay. We're not going to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Nope. I'm not going to let you do that to me.
All right. So we obviously didn't get through all of the things that we wanted to discuss on the first half of the show. So do you want a little shot at your weekend, or you're good?
I mean, we talked about the turtle thing, so I'm pretty good.
But
All
did
right.
we really talk about the
Yeah.
turtle thing?
So elaborate a little bit on the turtle thing.
All right. So our boss at the bar, one day
She's lovely, that one.
he's always kind of a dick to me, but like it's all in good fun.
And good fun.
And like I'm such a dick to him back. Like if it was a normal relationship, I probably should be fired. But
Seriously.
at one point I was out with, for lack of better term, a Steve, and
Fucking Steve.
and I literally said to Dave at one point, I was like, I hope your husband, I'm not saying names, I hope your husband sits on your face and smothers you. He's like, without the drop of a hat, like without like a minute.
Didn't even think about it.
He was like, it's fine, I can breathe out of my asshole. And I lost it. Like literally, I lost it.
Like, who says that?
I was like cry
Turtles.
laughing for the rest of the night. And so this weekend, and this probably happened a couple weeks ago, and this weekend I'm watching, I know it's kind of sad to say, but I watched Frozen 2, which I actually kind of enjoyed. The music, meh, but the movie was okay. And Olaf, we love Olaf,
We do.
was just spewing random facts like the entire movie. And then all of a sudden, like Anna was in like this like really depressive situation, and he was like, oh, well, and he just starts coming up with these random things. He's like, oh, did you know that turtles can breathe out of their butthole? And I was like, pause the movie. Pause the fucking movie. Literally paused it, and I looked it up. Turtles can breathe out of their butthole.
No.
Yeah,
Way.
there are certain species that can breathe out of their butthole. And I was like,
And
oh
did
my
you-
God, Dave's a tortoise.
And then I said he's one of those tortoises that belongs on the Galapagos Islands because he's like 190.
This is
I
like
think
the
I mentioned that
greatest
yesterday.
story I've
Yeah,
heard all
it's
week.
hysterical.
I literally I was like sitting on my couch at home just like cry laughing. Like I could not help it. I mean, like I had no idea turtles could breathe out of their butt.
So our boss is very funny at work, and he's very catty and very quick too. So one day, like I remember, I was telling him, he's like, "Remember when we went on the boat, and we went on the sound there around the Norwalk area? We were
Oh
on the
yeah,
boat."
yeah, yeah.
And so I came back and I said, "Oh, Dave, you know, we went out on the boat, and we were under the sun and having a good time." He goes like, "It didn't sink." Without thinking about it, he's so witty that way, and I just look at him like, "You bitch." He goes like, "'Cause you know, you a big girl." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna kill him," but I love him though. He's such a funny man, you know. And if you're in a bad mood, trust me, he'll find a way to put you in a good mood.
Mhm.
But don't piss him off.
Yeah, don't piss him off. But he
Ooh.
would do anything
Yeah,
for you.
he would.
Oh, he's one of mine.
Yeah.
Where I have I don't fence dwell. I'm either all in or all out. Like there's no middle ground with me.
Yeah, he's just boom. It just comes out like lava. So,
I
but
just
yeah.
I just want to say, since you brought up Frozen, is super sexist.
Why?
Go on.
Let
Oh,
it
really?
go.
Because you get
Let it go. Okay, no, don't let it go. I was just singing the song. Go for it.
haven't been able to. So Frozen is yet another movie with a dumb girl who falls in love with some idiot that has nothing in common with her and doesn't care about her, and she falls head over heels for him because that's what little girls are supposed to do. And the other one with the powers and the eyes, it's super unadjusted and does not even own her power. She wants to go be a recluse. Like, what the fuck is that kind of shit? And where's the empowerment? And no, my kids will not watch Frozen. Go
Oh
on.
Lord, have
I
mercy.
will watch part 2 just to see if they,
I think you have to look at it from a
Vindicate
different
themselves.
perspective.
like what
Well,
perspective?
teach.
Okay,
Please,
so I'm
tell
going to give
me.
you an example of something. Have you ever seen Legally Blonde?
Yes.
Do you think that that is a sexist movie?
No.
Why?
Because she actually stood her moral ground and she was successful.
Mm-hmm.
Were all the things that were going on sexist towards her? Absolutely.
But she overcame that.
But she overcame
and
that.
she was strong and was honest and moved through and pushed through it all.
Right. That's not what what's her face sister did though. Nice
Elsa's
try.
sister?
At the
What's her face?
I don't know what
Anna
Elsa's
and
sister's name.
Elsa.
Elsa.
Yeah,
I hate the
Elsa.
fact that people call me that.
they
all
saved.
the
They,
time.
they,
Let it
they
go.
saved the country and they opened their doors finally.
Welcome to Gay Talk. We're
It-
talking about Frozen.
No,
too.
but I mean, but you know, it's interesting because like, if you look at Legally Blonde, a lot of people will be like, "That is a terrible,
I love that
a
movie.
terrible like representation of what a woman should be."
Absolutely
and all
not.
this.
So is
No.
Clueless.
No.
No,
That's
Yeah,
that's
she-
who
she-
she,
she
is.
may
She's
have
super
gone-
cute
she's
and
like,
she's
"I'm gonna-
smart.
I'm gonna go to law school and chase after a man. But what did she do?
Right.
She
was
changed the world.
She fuck that
saved
man.
Bruce's
I'm here for
bill.
me.
In her pursuit, because this is the thing, she evolved. as a
Uh-huh.
person,
And so
right?
and Frozen, they evolve as well. They do.
Oh my God, I
Okay.
cannot.
You're gonna totally make me go watch it and play by play you on fucking Facebook.
All right,
because I
fine.
can't.
Well, not on Facebook. Let's
I
do it on
can't.
the show. But
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh my God, she's totally game for that. She's
Okay,
like,
I can't. I can't. I have a severe problem.
but it's about women. Frozen to me is about two sisters who lost one another, come back together, and really empower each other and move forward in life.
Oh, you're a better person than I am because I don't feel like there was that much growth.
See, I
I'm
do.
sorry.
oh my God, I can't.
I do. I feel like you look at the beginning of Frozen when Anna falls in love with that douchebag.
Right.
And her sister was like, no, this is a bad idea. Don't do it. Don't do it. She doesn't listen because her sister hasn't been a part of her life for how long, right?
right.
And then she does it. All goes to hell. But what happens? The sisters come back together and and solve the problem. Together, as women, solve the problem.
So I'm gonna watch the movie again because I don't want to be that guy. It did not happen quite like that. Okay, it was more like through a series of unfortunate events that they stumble upon this. Like I can't with Elsa.
No, you're right. But they were unfortunate events because
And I don't know if there was any moment during the movie where Elsa showed us this growth and evolution. Because it's okay to be boy crazy. It's okay to be girl crazy. It's okay to do dumb things for a girl or a boy. I get that. I just don't think that their evolution through the whole movie was enough for me to make me feel like Legally Blonde, where she actually understood that the guy was a douche and more importantly that she could do better for herself.
are we really psychoanalyzing Frozen right now? Because we are.
And Legally Blonde.
And that
So
being said,
hard. So hard.
Let's like go back a little bit, right? Because we're now since we are psychoanalyzing this movie, let's talk about the fact that both Anna and Elsa
Did see Elsa.
lost their
Mhm.
parents at a very young age,
They did.
and because of their parents, they had preconceived notions of what needed to happen,
True.
and so they were separated from one another and had to grow up separately.
Right, because Anna kind of sort of internalized the whole thing and didn't reach out or allowed anyone in.
No, Anna
which
reached
is
out. She tried.
understandable.
She knocked on the door, bitch. There's a whole song about it.
Elsa did. The whole fucking song is about Elsa. Wait,
No,
who is
Anna.
Elsa?
Anna is the young
Anna
girl.
is the younger one. That's
Elsa's
the
the
ditzy
oldest.
one. Yes,
Yeah.
Anna did try. So Elsa.
Elsa's the one with
was
the
too
ice.
afraid to hurt her sister.
Yes.
But when they finally came together, it took a long time. When they finally came together, after everything that society and their parents put on them to do growing up, separate. You
You
have
two
to.
need to sit down in the same room and watch the goddamn fucking movie.
This fucking
I
thing is
can't
happening.
do this. I'm sorry. We're
It is
talking
happening.
Disney
Yeah,
right now.
no,
It's happening.
I was not expecting that conversation, but like I was just enlightened recently about Legally Blonde, and I never looked at it in that perspective before.
Yeah, she went through her struggles, but she was dumb and boy crazy. It happens, but she evolved, and that's all it is. That tomorrow you're better than you were today, and I will not hold against you whatever you did yesterday, as long as today you're better
Yeah.
than you were yesterday, and that's what Elle did.
Yep, that movie is
Elle
all about
Woods.
empowering women and women empowering one another.
Yes,
Can we do the bend and snap?
I
Bend.
While controlling men.
Oh my God, I cannot. All right, so listen, we've got. There's one important
lost
thing.
that whole argument with her in a parabet.
Oh Lord, have mercy. Thank you for that wonderful analysis of Frozen on Gay Talk.
And Legally Blonde,
and
evidently.
Legally Blonde. I wanted to talk. I'm gonna get a little serious right now, very quickly, because it does need to be mentioned. So, within the past few days, we lost a trans woman in the island of Puerto Rico. She was shot to death after she was seen roaming streets in certain towns in on the northern part of the island, and where people observed that she could potentially have been having issues, mental issues. She was sleeping on park benches. There were videos about her, and she entered an establishment and sat down, but wanted to use the bathroom. And she went into the woman's room, and the person there reported her, claiming that she had a mirror and all she wanted to do was be a peeping Tom and look up people's skirts, etc., whatever. The police came. She was arrested, and later she was released. But the damage was done, and so people have a preconceived notion of this person who then later, while she was walking, trying to find a place to sleep, she was homeless, got shot to death. She was shot to death in what I call and what I know is a hate crime. And they're very easy to come by on my island, unfortunately, but it was. And to add salt to injury, the papers, the publications on the island, and a lot of the people that were reporting on this individual's story misgendered her. Her name was Alexa, and I feel that it is important that we, the community, acknowledge that, and that if the Puerto Rican government or the Puerto Rican press does not want to acknowledge the fact that this was a transgender individual and that her name was Alexa, you can go all fuck yourselves and do me a favor and press charges and file charges and find the people responsible for this hate crime who murdered this individual. It's just unacceptable. It needs to stop. And we need to do better as a human race. We really do. We really do. And I learned about this yesterday, and I was watching some of the videos that were going around on social media and some of the pictures that were posted. Clearly, it was visible that she was seeking and asking for help, and she got murdered for it. And that's all I have to say about that.
I don't think there's much else to say.
Right.
And, but yes, so hashtag, her name was Alexa. Remember that.
We say her every day.
That's right.
And remember that
And,
every time you ask Alexa to do something.
Remember that. And this episode, I would like to dedicate to her and in her honor. And your story is not going to go away. It's been very polarizing in the Puerto Rican press, and there's a lot of activists who are seriously going out of their way to make sure that if they find the individuals, by the way, there's a video of individuals shouting at her and shooting her. Not, you can't see them shooting her, but you can see when he says, you know, things like, I'm just going to shoot her. Fuck this shit. Fuck this bitch. And all you hear is the gunshots going off. It's just really
so
intense and really
gross.
disturbing. It really is.
That's so gross.
Sorry, I didn't mean to dampen the mood, but I wanted to make sure that that got on the recording before we signed off for today, because it was something that just shook me today and yesterday. And as more news keeps coming in, it just continues to just make me sick to my stomach. And I had to mention it. So,
Well, we might as well.
dive into the next one because that one's also pretty.
Yeah, but it's we're gonna do it really quick because we got to close this out. But we were just talking about Disney. We were just talking about bullshit within the gay community, and Disney Plus has removed the Love Simon. The new Love Simon series that was supposed to air on Disney Plus has been removed. Hulu will be airing it with a new title called Love Victor. And the reason they removed it was because the Disney felt many issues explored on the show, including alcohol use and sexual exploration, would not fit with their family-friendly content on Disney Plus.
But you can have Darth Vader murder people with a lightsaber. Okay. Go ahead, girl. I see that thought bubble.
I just can't. Can we just stop being dicks? Like, really, Disney?
Where's
of
my
your
gay
shows,
prince?
all of your shows are super fucking inappropriate. Like, my kids will never watch any of your shows. They are sexually explicit. None of the kids have parents. Like,
Yeah. No, I mean, like literally,
I
like
can't. It's too much.
I grew up on Disney. I grew up on Disney.
She
I
wants
grew
to
up
be a
on Disney
princess.
musicals. I still am a Disney princess.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
And a unicorn.
But
Wait,
like,
so you want to be weak and undeserving of any marriage?
I don't fucking know. Do you know me at all?
And wait for a man to come save you? Because that's all
Rescue.
those bitches do.
No,
Fuck that.
no. But I would definitely
Really?
sit on
You're
Aladdin's
gonna come
face.
kiss me when I'm sleeping? It's called rape. Just saying, Disney. So get I'm fucking bored. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, actually.
No, you're right.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, where's my consent? You're just going to put your tongue in my mouth without my consent? I'm sleeping. That would be sexual assault. And no, my little girl or little boy will not be watching that shit.
Yeah, no, I'm not happy with
Proud of
Disney.
you, girl.
I think this is ridiculous.
I'm not a Disney fan. I signed up for Disney Plus to watch Star Wars: The Mandalorian
Because this is the way.
because that's the way, right? And so, when you're saying here that alcoholism and all this other stuff is really a problem to showcase on your show, but you have The Mandalorian where one of the stormtroopers kicks
Baby!
the alleged baby Yoda on the fucking head and tosses him to the side. No.
But I also don't think that it's bad to explore those things. I think I
But that's
think
what
our
I'm saying.
society, like when it comes to sex and when it comes to drugs and alcohol, I think we're so whitewashed that we don't want to talk about anything.
And
And
we
I think that's the
should.
reason everybody
But
has
also-
problems.
Right, but also maybe you want that to be in a family setting so that your kid can ask you and not the asshole kid in school that's going to give them misinformation and make this into some like dangerous, like, oh, you should definitely try it thing.
Peer pressure stuff.
Because when I was growing up, every question, my father was in medical school and there was a book laying around with live color pictures of a birth. There was a vagina and there was a baby poking his head out
girl.
of that vagina. And I asked my parents, well, where do babies come from?
Because
And they started with all that jazz. And I was like, really, Dad? Really?
'Cause-
Well, look at these pictures. I might have been like 4 or 5. And my parents had to explain to me how babies are made. Anatomically.
But like that's important. We don't talk enough. Like
We don't.
We literally are so afraid to have conversations with our kids, our nephews, our nieces, our family. Like I didn't talk about sex with my parents for years, and finally we can have conversations about sex. It's healthy. It's healthy to have conversations about
Yes, and
sex
people-
because you learn.
Yes, and you learn it from the right source.
not
because-
shamed.
Right. And so I can tell
It's not
you,
secretive. You don't have to
it's
hide about
not.
it. You
and
can
you
be
also
safe.
Don't
You get the
romanticize
information.
it. Right. You don't romanticize it in a way where you have 13-year-old little boys and girls having sex at an age where they're not emotionally or even physically prepared to do because you just want to kind of clothe it with this freaking cape of like mystery.
Mhm.
No, that shit is painful when you start. That shit is dangerous. It can get you pregnant. And you have
Sick.
a baby. All you have to do is raise that goddamn baby. But you can also be exposed to some very serious health issues.
Yeah.
And those conversations need to be had at home. And when
And
is the right
STDs.
time? Yeah. And when is the right time to have those conversations with your kids? When they ask.
Yeah.
Because if they're asking you, they've already heard it.
Or if they don't ask, when you assume it's happening.
Yes.
It's important to like literally just dive in. Like dive in with your kids because like at the end of the day, if you don't say something, if you don't educate your kids, it's not their fault.
Correctly.
It's not their fault.
Correctly.
It's
and
not their
somebody
fault.
else is going to give them the information and they're going to give it to them in a way that is not productive and they're going to give it to them in a way that is not educational
Mhm.
and they're going to end up
Making a mistake.
making bad decisions.
Mhm.
Because here's my thing. In the history of history, when has this view of I'm going to shelter my kids from everything worked?
Or helped
13-year-olds don't have sex. I remember when I first moved here, I was in 7th grade. I was 11 years old. And all those kids in my school, all they talked about was sex. There was a chick that had 2 abortions. I was 11.
It's the truth.
We were in
You know,
7th grade.
it's
how old?
like we
how much
don't know
older
what's
than I
happening.
could she have been? 13, 14, and she's had 2 abortions.
Like I didn't find my mother's porn when I was like, maybe 10 or 11.
Like, tell me about these pictures, Mom. Just let me hear it.
I literally, I really think that if you can't have open, and I think it's changing. I really do think that parents, especially millennial parents, they're starting to be more open and be more active with that type of conversation
Mhm.
with their kids. But like, if you don't have those conversations, I really firmly believe that if your child comes home sick, pregnant, whatever, put in a bad situation, you are to blame. You are to blame because you didn't open the the you didn't open the door
Or the
to-
communication channels
and
to
make
be able
it-
to have that conversation.
and make an environment where that kid felt comfortable enough to say, "Mom, I may be gay, and I'm thinking, of exploring that, like, but I want to be. I don't know what
You
to
know,
do, like." And if you, as a parent, don't know, so like, you don't know what butt sex is, you don't know how gay people have sex, whatever, call somebody.
We have a lot of pride centers all over the U.S. I can
Call
guarantee
Mama
you.
Kim.
Yes.
Call your token gay friend.
Yes. I mean, the thing
We all have one.
the thing is this, it's
Well,
like
some
as
of us have a lot.
as parents, you have to realize that kids already know. And
do.
And they're gonna do it either way.
and the thing is, like, and this is very
They
prevalent
are.
in Latina mothers.
Oh my
Latina
God.
mothers are so dramatic about the fact, like, oh my God, you're pregnant, but bitch, you never told me to not let him stick it in there. We never had that
Or
conversation.
if I did, that I should take care of myself. I didn't have the freedom to come to you and say I'm sexually active. Can you go get me? Can you come with me so I can get some birth control? Like, these conversations don't happen, and it's really disgusting in our culture. And I say this as a Latina Caribbean woman, right, who grew up with very progressive parents. Like, my parents are not very traditional at all. No gender roles. We were all just people. And if my brother could do it, so could I. Like, my dad.
Oh, we know.
Oh, we know.
Dad
Honey, that penis is gold.
never, ever said to me, no, you can't because you. And I would say, well, why not? And it was never because, well, he's a boy, which is what we get. That's what we get. Well, he's a boy is different. No, it was always, well, he's older or he's more mature or, whatever it was. It was never because you're a little girl, which is what we got all the time. Well,
That's
why
right.
can't I go out to the movies with my friends and my brother can? Oh, because it's different. You're a girl. My parents never used that language with me, which I am so thankful for because it has obviously shaped who I am as an adult, right?
The punitive punishment falls heavily on the women.
Right. And
in
it's
our
so
culture.
disgusting that women in my culture are still told that they are only as worth as their vagina.
Yeah.
It's so fucking disgusting.
I know.
It's a piece of freaking skin that can go away by you riding horses. Like, you don't get that? Please do not tell me that that's my worth. Please. And that is very prevalent where we're like, well, we're not going to talk about it because then she's going to think it's okay to do it. No. My mother talked up to me about sex from a very young age. I was 28 when I had sex for the first time. Responsibly, and maybe not wait till you're 28, by the way. Like, I'm not advocating that. But the point is that sex was always an okay conversation to have in my house with my parents, with my siblings. We talked about it all the time. From a medical perspective, from an anatomy perspective, from a you always must take care of yourself perspective. I don't think I can remember my mother ever saying to myself or my sister, oh, you can't have sex, or that's your worth, or you have to marry. I hate that fucking word, by the way. Sexually active, sexually inactive. Because nobody really is a virgin by definition. And I think that it demeans a woman's worth, where you think that that's all we're worth really is our vagina.
Or virginity.
Or
I don't know. Some
it's
people
such
think
a
I'm only
disgusting
worth
word.
my butthole, but
Well, if they've seen it now, I don't
I
know.
know.
You have to go see Dr. G.
let me go through the list. Thanks,
right.
Paul. Thanks,
Well,
Steve.
listen,
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve. Oh, I was just thanking everybody for how I
Just
ended up.
Steve. They're all Steve.
Please, let's not talk about numbers.
No, so we're not going to talk about numbers. I'm going to break the ice a little bit before we wrap up the show. So I have a little question for you both. So there's always these little memes that people post on Facebook about, what your like stripper name would be, right? If you were to take two things and combine them and it would become your stripper name. So here we go. So your stripper name is going to be today, the color of your underwear, and what was the last thing that you ate. So let's start with you, Miss Elci.
Wait, let me see what color panties I'm wearing.
What is your stripper name?
So, wait, don't I have to know what the color to my underwear word
You,
is?
you have to know the color of your underwear and
Oh!
the last thing you ate. Come on, you can do it.
So, my stripper name is Nude.
Okay.
Um, It's nude linguine. It's a little pesto on top.
Nude linguine with pesto on top. I love it. That's
my
right.
God.
That was what was for lunch. Okay, Nick, what's yours?
Pink kielbasa.
Oh my God!
How appropriate.
Lord have mercy.
Ugh.
Mm.
Tommy.
Mine is very bland, actually. I am silver chicken salad.
That's super
You're
vanilla.
wearing silver underwear?
Yeah, well, it's like gray color. So gray chicken salad,
That
That's
sounds like
pretty
it's rotten.
bland.
right? It's like,
Oh,
hello?
honey, I'm sorry, honey.
know.
It's
Like,
okay.
yeah.
I'm fine. I'm pink kielbasa.
Yeah, I'll take nude linguine.
Right?
All
So
right, let's close this shit
that was a
out.
good way to just, wrap things up. All right, so listen, we do have some things that we're going to do as we always do before we wrap things up. So we'll start off with Mama Kim's Minute,
All right.
and I'm going to toss it off to this bitch. Let me put a timer on. Hold on.
It's going to be a short one today.
So,
Updated this, by the way.
and reset, and go.
All right, everybody, here's Mama Kim's Minute. Number 1, Pete Buttigieg finally responds to Rush Limbaugh's insult about his husband. Number 2, professor who said he had a free speech right to misgender trans students loses court case. Number 3, teacher forbids student with lesbian moms from speaking in favor of same-sex marriage. And number 4, the most exciting one, is get ready for Pocket Pride by Mama Kim, her new business.
Yes.
We're super excited. So that was it. 33 seconds.
it?
I'm proud of you. Yeah, Pocket Pride is going to be amazing. I can't wait to talk about it more, but we're still working on
Play it on my Facebook, on my Instagram.
all of
Buy
the
all them
social medias.
products.
That's
Buy
right.
them
Mhm.
products. That's important.
Mhm.
So I'm super excited. I can't wait.
We got
She-
the first official email from her new email. Just
We
so you
did?
know. Yeah, she was like, "This is the first email I've
Oh,
sent
that's
from this
right. That's
account."
right. She did send that. I never replied to them. I'm sorry, Mama Kim, because I always think he's going to reply, and he does for the most part. So, do you want to do on this day in gay history? Would you like to know? I'll do it. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, on this day in gay history, brought to you by
GayRealEstate.com.
All right. It is all right. So it's February 24th, 1995, where in the US of A, Greg Louganis announces that he is HIV positive. So the Olympic medal winning diver made the announcement on a televised show. And so that was huge, right? It was 1995. We were in the midst of the hysteria around people dying. Bill Clinton was just about to become president. The AIDS quilt was being unveiled.
I
All
was
of this
8.
stuff literally happened while this man just literally stood out there in front of the American people and said, "I'm HIV positive," and put a face to the disease that many people had, that we were losing people, as a result of it turning into AIDS. We're losing people, and people were dying.
It
And
was
we had
great, but we should
demonized it.
Yeah, we
probably
did.
do the gay talk term now.
Yeah.
So thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you,
And
Greg.
So, all right. So our gay talk term
Which
Of-
you
of
have
course.
the book in front of you.
is brought to you by
GayRealEstate.com.
Should I do
Nailed
it?
it.
Yeah, just do it.
I've already picked it. All right. So it is Follow Queen. So Follow Queen, it is a late 60s term from San Francisco. It is a homosexual who shadows his intended for what seems like miles before bolstering up enough courage to say hi.
We've all been there.
Follow Queen. I love
I
it.
love that.
Now social media brings a new meaning to that
Oh,
completely.
yeah.
But
Yes.
all right.
Clearly.
Let's do
Oh,
this.
wait. Before we wrap it up.
Pee, man.
I know, me too. Elci, he got a text message.
Oh, we've been.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we
yeah.
talked
Is there,
about that.
All right,
is there
so
a
that's
date
done.
though? Do we have
No.
a?
We'll
That's
talk about
fine.
it after
no,
the
that's
show.
fine. Yes,
Okay.
that's fine because I have a lot of questions.
Okay. So
I couldn't
Go.
sleep for a
My
whole
turn?
week.
my turn again. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you love the show, make sure that you go subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting service. By doing so, you get the latest and greatest of our show delivered right to your web browser or your favorite device as soon as our episodes are published. You can also support us on Patreon and get access to this amazing video web stream that we produce for you guys every week. and you can do so. Anything that you decide to donate, we'll take. Those donations can be in any denomination of $1 or more, and we collect them every month. So please help us out. Elsie.
And next week, we welcome Dr. Evan Goldstein for our next installment of Tales from the Tale.
You
Yes,
nailed it.
queen.
So thank you to our guest, Davis Mallory, for joining us on today's episode. Visit davismallory.com for more info. All of today's future music will be available on his website and on our post, I believe, correct?
We'll try to get them on there, yes.
All
But
right.
yes, they
All
will be.
right. Last but not least, but not last because we saw him put a rubber on it. Get your discount for Future Method today. Each time you clean out with with water or enemas, delicate tissues are harmed and cells are damaged, increasing chances of injury and or STDs. The first of its kind, doctor-developed formula that gently cleanses before you play without hurting your bum, and now you can use code GayTalk20 for 20% off, valid for one purchase or a subscription per person.
Yes, you're getting so good at that. I'm not making a permanent recording.
I
That's
know.
a lot to read.
Right?
But you're amazing at it.
So make sure that you go use it. It's amazing. Elsie, shall we?
So our show is available on our
Wait,
website.
stop. You forgot to put something on it.
I want to put a dental dam on it.
All right, let's do it.
Yes, go for it.
Our show is available on our website, gaytalk20.
.com.
I can't with myself. It's gaytalk20.com
Gaytalk20.
under show and episodes. It is also available as a free download on iTunes, Google Play Music, and Stitcher Radio.
Yes.
Nick announces you can find us on social media: Facebook, Gay Talk 2.0, Instagram, Gay Talk 2.0, Twitter at Gay Talk 20. You can email us at gaytalk2.0@gmail.com. Tom, take it away.
And if you need to reach out to us, you can just head on over to our website, click on the Contact Us tab, located at the top of the web browser. There you can leave comments, you can suggest topics, you can submit a question for the cast or an individual host. You can also call us with questions that you may have. We can answer those for you on the show. The phone number is 334-GAY-TALK. And if you need those digits, because you still have one of those, rotary phones.
Stop talking about me.
I know. 334-429-8255. Don't forget that we do stream live every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can access that live stream by visiting digitalstreamradio.com. With that, ladies and gents, that is our show. Thank you, and y'all have a good night.
Bye!
Thank you for listening to this episode of Gay Talk 2.0. Tune in next time for more dish.